and welcome to the Currency of Anarchy. I'm Josh Davis.
Michael Freeman.
If you'd like to be a part of the discussion during our live tapings, please check us out at youtube.com/user/Cur of Anarchy on Mondays at 9 p.m., 6 p.m. Pacific. And you can see the final product on the same channel, youtube.com/user/Cur of Anarchy, on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And please check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/Cur of Anarchy. If you're here during the live taping right now, you can post any questions or comments to the new thread we've made, or send us a Facebook message, and we'll certainly get to it. And now a word from our sponsors.
Holly Cogburn runs Homebody, a body care, vanity, and cosmetic products company. She contracts using USD, Bitcoin, and barter. She is proud to say that she started the business without the assistance of bank loans. In her words, fuck bank loans and fuck their interest rates. For the most part, fuck banks. She has paid her startup costs out of pocket and has steadily and sustainably grown from there. She believes in a free, fair, and reputation-based market, relying on word of mouth. So please, find Holly at homebodyco.com or facebook.com/homebodyco.
Now we're back. So Michael, very special guest, very big name in the anarchy movement. So yeah, throw it over to you.
Cool. Right, we do have a big guest tonight, and he's happily a busy guy, and I'm glad that he's busy because he's helping change the world, so I don't have to. And it's Jeff Berwick. You guys might know him from the Dollar Vigilante, one of my favorite podcasts, Anarchast, on YouTube, etc. And an upcoming event that I believe starts tomorrow, Anarchopulco. So Jeff, how are you doing tonight?
A little stressed out. You're right. It's starting tomorrow, and as I was saying to you, I'm so stupid. When I put this in my schedule like 3 weeks ago, I noticed it was the day before in Anarchopulco, a fairly big event here. It's pretty much sold out, 300 people at least. And I thought, I'm always the kind of person, I never plan things very well. I never think about things very well. And I thought at the time, it'll be no problem. I'll just do this podcast just the night before Anarchopulco. And I've been running around all day, and I have to go out later tonight and make sure everything's ready to go for tomorrow. But I managed to make time, and I'm glad to be on with you guys. I like your program.
Great, appreciate that. We we like your stuff too, man.
Yeah,
so you want to explain to us, at least for the viewers, what is Anarchopulco?
Anarchopulco is essentially the first international anarcho-capitalist conference of its type. I don't know of anything else that's been done quite like this, or not even close, really. And so it's here in Acapulco right now. Starts tomorrow. We're going to have 3 days of workshops before the conference. One's with Exobase, which is run by Exosphere, which is essentially an entrepreneurship work camp. They teach people how to be entrepreneurs. And then after that, we have Luke Rudowski, James Corbett, and Dan Dix all on, and they're going to be doing a workshop called Change Media University, and they'll be giving all their advice and tips on how they've all created very large media on the internet. They're very well known, of course. James Corbett, Corbett Report, Luke Rudowski of We Are Change, and Dan Dix of Press for Truth. All three amazing organizations are all going to be there at one time, teaching people how they do what they do. And I think we need a lot more people to do this kind of stuff. And get this information out there more, and it's all very popular, all these things. And then we also have Dana Martin unschooling workshop, peaceful parenting and unschooling for people who want to learn a little bit more about how they can have a more peaceful relationship with their kids, why you don't really even need school at all if you don't want to send your kids to school, and how it actually works so much better, and things like that. And then the conference starts on Friday. And it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and so I am not going to get much sleep this week. I'm not going to be answering many emails, and I'm just hoping to survive it all, really, because I'm going to be at the conference from 9 in the morning till probably 2 in the morning every night, and it's going to be some drinks involved. There's going to be parties, and we have rappers coming. Tatiana Moroz is here. I was just out with her last night, or 2 nights ago, and they're going to be performing on the beach. So it's going to be quite an event, and it's, like I said, it's been quite surprising to me how popular it's become. When I first started it 6 months ago, it was just an idea, and it's almost like just put it up on the internet and just see what happens. I do a lot of stuff like that. I'm kind of an entrepreneur, so I test things out. It's like, well, let's just put it up, say we're going to do something, and just see what the reaction is. If no one reacts and no one comes, then nothing's really lost. And right off the bat, it was quite popular, but it's been in the last month or so that it seems to have just gotten this huge amount of buzz. We've had people like Right Said Fred, remember I'm Too Sexy? They were on Twitter saying, oh, they wish they could be there, but they have other obligations. I've got contacted by all sorts of amazing people, and people are still right now even coming and registering right now, sort of last minute sort of people signing up. So yeah, it's been quite the experience already, and it hasn't even started yet.
Wow, yeah, I really do wish that I could make it. As we were saying before we went on air, New England winters are something harsh, and to go down to Acapulco, Mexico for a Liberty event sounds, I mean, I'm intrigued, right? So yeah, I think there's a few former Currency of Anarchy guests who are going to be down there. Dollar Vigilante contributor and Anarchast in Espanol host Luis Fernando Mises, I believe, will be there.
Actually, I don't think he's going to make it. I've been
really?
talking to him every day, and he waffles back and forth, some sort of budget issue. He might make it still, but he's still on the fence.
Oh, no, okay. I take that back. I'm sorry, Luis, didn't mean to put you on the spot, but now you have more of an incentive to go. Lauren Rumpler, Objectivist Girl, was on the show a few weeks ago. She's going down there. Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of Luke Rudowski. We are changed. He does really, really good work. I know that he doesn't exactly call himself an anarchist, but his activism
he's an Anarchast. He doesn't like to be out there and use the word and say he is one, but I've known him for about a year now, and he was on Anarchast, and he's essentially is an anarchist, but he doesn't like to use that word too much because he doesn't want to. He's trying to get truth out there, and he doesn't want to scare people with certain words. Some people think the word's a really dangerous word or something for some ridiculous reason.
Yeah, there's another guy going down there who has the same feeling. Mark Edge, the co-host of Free Talk Live.
Yeah, Mark was on Anarchast as well, and he'll be here. He'll be co-emceeing with me a little bit, and yeah, he's also like Luke in that he's got a quite a large, very large radio program in the U.S. They're number 44 of all talk radio shows, which is quite good, and especially for an anarchy or a freedom-related show like they are. They're on so many stations, and they're all over there on satellite radio and stuff. And yeah, he was the same as Luke. He was like, yeah, I am an anarchist. Obviously, I'm a good person. I don't believe that we should have a world where we use violence and force with other people, and but he just doesn't like to use the word. He calls himself a voluntarist, which is fine. I don't care really about what word you call yourself, as long as you are one. You are a morally sound, peaceful person. That's all I really care.
Yeah. I
actually use the word anarchist a lot because my sort of style, as you may have noticed, is I like to be a little bit provocative sometimes. I like to, sit here and smoke and drink and be a little, sort of like a little different, and sort of put things in people's faces sometimes. So for me, the word anarchist.
I do know. I do know.
And I'm over here sitting.
That's why I use it.
Yeah, I like to be provocative as well. Josh is the neat and pretty on our show, and I'm the one who's just going to tell it to you straight. I like bad words. I like drinking. I like to wrestle some jimmies, as it were.
Yeah, I've wrestled a few jimmies, I think, in my life.
Yeah, you've been doing this for quite a while now, I think.
Well, yeah, it depends how you define doing this, but even when I was back in the 90s, before I even knew what anarchy really was, but I still was an anarchist, I just didn't know there was a whole philosophy behind it. I didn't know what the word even meant. I had a large financial website in Canada. It's still the #1 financial website in Canada. It's called stockhouse.com, and I would write my sort of provocative ways on there too. Just for people who don't know, if you want to be in media, you have to say things that are going to rustle people's jimmies, or else no one's going to care. If you're just saying very plain things all the time or writing very plainly, people just don't get interested. So you have to find ways to kind of catch their attention. So even back then, I was very well known as saying some really extreme things, which I believed in. Like I don't say these things because I'm trying to get attention, and I don't believe them. I actually believe them, but I'm not scared to say them either. And I found in the media business, and I've been in the media business pretty much my whole adult life, and now with the Dollar Vigilante, is that you need to make your niche. You need to say something interesting in an interesting way, or you're just never going to get much of an audience. So that's the way I am. I have no problems saying anything that I believe, and to some people who haven't heard these things, sometimes it kind of shocks them, and that's fine. And that's actually how you get their attention sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed. I mean, well, what do you got, Josh? I know you're a big Berwick fan too. What do you got?
Well, I mostly come from the economic standpoint, I guess, because I mean, Michael and I actually met this weekend in person, and we touched upon the fact that he comes at it from the social side, I come at it from the economic standpoint, and
I come at it from the antisocial side.
point taken. But I think, Jeff, you kind of epitomize both ends of the spectrum here.
Yeah, when I first got into this sort of angle on things, freedom and liberty and anarchism, the first thing that really got me my eyes open was the economic side, because I had just gone through the tech bubble. I started a company in my house. A year later, 3 years later, it's worth $240 million. And then a few months later, it was worthless. And I was like, what just happened there? And I talked to like MBAs and all these people who went to all these schools, business schools. I said, what happened? And they're like, well, that just happens sometimes. I'm like, no, there's something more. Like, it doesn't just happen. There's a reason that you have these huge booms and these huge collapses. And so I started reading. I think the first book I really read that really kind of opened my eyes was The Creature from Jekyll Island. And I was just enthralled because I was like, whoa, this is like the information I was looking for, and hardly anyone seems to know about it. But this is back in like 2000, 2002. And back then, hardly anyone even knew what the Federal Reserve was. It would be very rare to ever meet anybody who even knew how the money system worked, how the fiat U.S. dollars work. Now it's becoming quite a bit more well-known thanks to the Internet. But that's how I first got into it, and I was so blown away by it that I just went and read everything I could, Austrian economics, and then that led me into, and then I also was friends with Doug Casey, because he was one of our top people we had on our website in Canada, and it was the biggest website in Canada. So when he was in Vancouver, he'd stop by and say hi, and we went for dinner. And I was telling him, yeah, I just found out why these bubbles all happen. He's like, oh yeah, you didn't know that? I'm like, no. And I said, I gotta tell the world about this stuff. Then he said, well, you know what you are, don't you? I said, no. And he said, well, you're a libertarian. And I'd never heard that word before. I'd never heard it. And I thought, what, like liberal? He's like, no, libertarian. You believe in freedom. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, who doesn't believe in freedom? And we talked a little bit further, and he goes, you know what you are, don't you? And I said, no. And he goes, you're an anarchist. And I was like a lot of people who watch these shows who haven't heard that word before, I was like, what, like people who bomb buildings and stuff? He's like, oh, no, that's what the government and the media say they are, because they're scared if people become anarchists, and there won't be any government, and all the mainstream media will be gone too. And so I just read, and I still to this day basically do. I find the whole everything, not just the economic, the social, everything, so exciting. To me, it's like a lot of people say, oh, a lot of things you're saying, they sound sort of negative. I'm like, no, it's like the most positive thing you could be talking about is how we can change the world so easily, so much better. There'd be no more war. There'd be very much less poverty. It'd be so small that you wouldn't even notice it. And
that's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, it's a good thing. What we're talking about is actual progress, not the stupid liberal leftist skewing of that word. Like, we're talking about progress and innovation and the forwarding of humanity and the forward promotion of society as a whole. I think that's probably one of the best things you can discuss, and I would think.
Yeah, and a lot of people will say about us that what we're talking about is dangerous, and life is dangerous, and I think we are talking about something that's so far off of people's radar because they've been indoctrinated through the government schools their whole lives. They watch the mainstream media, which is basically just the marketing arm for the government. And so when we say something like, well, we don't think there even should be a government, that blows their mind so much that they get scared. They're like, well, what would it be like? And, if they're rational and open to ideas, we can say it would be a million times better. I can guarantee you. There's no way it could be worse. And so, yeah, it's sort of funny that they're always trying to say that what we're talking about is dangerous and all that kind of stuff, when actually the most dangerous thing ever is a government and central banks, and they're killing people every day, every minute of every day. Someone's getting killed by a government somewhere, and someone's definitely being impoverished by both the government through taxation and through the central banks through inflation. And so what we're saying is we don't have to do it this way. We can have a much better system. It's actual non-system. And so it is funny how many people still think that anarchy is dangerous, and but it's mostly brainwashing from the government and the mainstream media and the schools. The school's a big part of it, and they always throw in the word anarchy whenever there's a riot. They go, "It's anarchy here," and it's like, that's not anarchy.
Grab your pitchforks.
A bunch of communists who are fighting the government, which is both, essentially government.
I'm
Fighting.
not sure that they're actually telling something that's fallacious. It might actually be dangerous, but only to the government. Like these anarchist and libertarian ideas. It's actually really bad for them. I mean, it's actually really great for us, but
it often is bad for them, because a lot of the people that we'll be talking to will be 65 years old. They're on their socialist insecurity check, and what we're talking about is we want to just stop doing that. And they're like, "Well, I have no food. I'll have no food to eat." And it's like, so it is dangerous to certain people. If we changed today and there was no more government, there'd be a lot of people who'd get hurt in the process because they're not prepared for that, and they put all their faith and their income comes from the government. So there'd be a period of time for sure where it would be very uncomfortable for a lot of people, and that's why they also probably think it's dangerous. So in a sense, I think we really need to find a way to move slowly towards anarchy. I don't think it should just happen in one day. For example, I've been having these ideas lately, and maybe I'm crazy, or maybe I'm stupid, or maybe I'm like a pie in the sky sort of dreamer, but we could almost just, if we could convince enough people that this is a much better way to go, maybe we could do some sort of a deal with government, and we say, okay, we're going to wrap this thing up in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be this year we're going to close this department, next year we're going to close this one, and just sort of move it towards it. And as that starts to happen, people will see how much better it is all the time, and maybe they'll want to speed it up after a period of time. But it's the old sort of debate: how do we transition from this horrible status world that we have today to one that's much more peaceful and prosperous? And that really is the question. A lot of people have these ideas like, oh, it'll be maybe just like civil war and chaos for years, and it is possible. All these things are possible. So that's why people say that these ideas are dangerous. I guess in a way they sort of are, but to me the end result is what's the most important, and fixing all these problems. And I see the way the world is today and where it's going, especially with the dollar's going to collapse the next few years, the yen's going to collapse, the euro's going to collapse. That's going to be way more dangerous than anything that we've been talking about.
See, I'm a button pusher. I'm not a minimalist. I think that I need to push a button and end the bitch as soon as humanly possible.
Well, if there was a button, I'd push it for sure.
I know. Unfortunately, there's just not. It doesn't exist.
We have to come up with some strategies on different ways that maybe we can get the ball rolling more.
To go on to your point about people who are at risk if they end the state. So first, again, I am a button pusher. I will press that button and end the state if that's possible, right then and there, regardless of the outcome. And I'll do it in public where everybody can watch me do it. But I am one of those people who gets an income from the state. I have a military pension, right? So if the state ends, goodbye rent, and I'm even so, with the atrocities that government commits, it kills more people than any other institution that has ever existed in all of humanity. I'll make
times that 1,000, times 1,000,000.
Yeah, exactly. I'll still press the button, and just like the word anarchist, I think people don't understand what it means, like you didn't. They think it's Molotov cocktails and burning the barns down, right, and burning witches at the cross or something like that. But they don't understand what the term means. And I'm not making excuses for the nationalists. Don't take me the wrong way. But I think that if these people understood what the state actually is, then they would vehemently oppose it like I do and have hatred towards it. Not only for the fact that it is inefficient, and it is. It's one of the most inefficient things ever. It's completely unaccountable to the people that it provides services to. But my problem is I have a moral issue with the bitch rather than an efficiency issue.
Yeah, no, I do as well. I see all the different angles. Every angle that you can come from on Anarchy, I can see them all. I can understand them all. To me, it's a very moral issue as well. For some reason, even when I was younger, I always, like, for example, I was like the #2 white rapper in Canada in 1989.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have a link? Do you have a link for that?
It's called the Jeff Steele Crew. It's on YouTube. It's very embarrassing.
Oh, I will certainly be looking that up.
But in Canada, Canada's so ridiculous that they make the radio stations play a certain amount of Canadian music on the radio, and it's like more than 50%. So all you really hear is like Alanis Morissette and Bryan Adams like all day long playing. And they actually give grants to musicians because they want more Canadian music, because, you know, that Canadian music culture is so important. We have to hang on to whatever that is, that we should steal money from some people and give it to other people. And a lot of people said, you know, you could apply for a grant and you can get easily $5,000. You can make a video. You know, back then it was Much Music in Canada. I think they still have it. It's like MTV. And I was like, no, I'm not taking. I don't ask for charity from anybody. And to me, it wasn't so much the government. It's just like I don't want anyone's charity. I want to earn it on my own. And so I was always like that. And I actually did once take a government check. Well, actually, I worked for the government. My dad got me a summer job in like I was a sewer worker, which was not a lot of fun, but it paid quite well. And so I did work for the government then. And then when I was laid off of, I think it was from that job or another job, I had been paying into unemployment insurance, which is done through the government in Canada. And so when I got laid off, I took the unemployment, whatever they call those checks you get when you're not working, for, I think, 4 or 5 months before I found another job. So those are the only 2 times I can think of that I've ever even really received anything from government. Of course, I've probably given them, I'm just going to guess here, not given, obviously, I was extorted, but it's got to be well over $1 million throughout my lifetime because of all the things I've done. So I don't pay it anymore, though, all legally, because I don't live in Canada anymore. So yeah, I've always been sort of against anything to do with government, even though I didn't even really understand why at the time. I just didn't like it. I didn't like that someone was giving me money for something I didn't really earn. It just didn't make any sense to me. I just didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, in I don't know, 2005, I was either duped or negligent. You can call it whatever you want to, or just a poor decision maker, maybe. Joined the military. I was active duty for 6 years in the Army, and it was a bad time. And I'm still trying to figure out what comes next, you know. So I collect government money too. We've all done it, I think. Josh used to help the government build bombs or something like that. So
actually, there was another time I worked for the government. I forgot about this one. I got out of high school, which I didn't even want to go to, but my mom made me, and she signed me up for the Canadian Naval Reserve for like the summer. So it's like I guess it's 2 months sort of a boot camp or whatever they call it. And the funniest part about that was we lived in the prairies, like nowhere near any ocean, not within like 1,000 miles. And I was in the Navy in a place called Edmonton, Canada. And man, I hated it so much because you know, just the way that they treat you. And I was just like, oh, this is ridiculous. Why am I even here? And so that was another time I forgot about that one too. But I hated it. It really wasn't much money either. It was an incredibly low amount of money. But I got out of that as soon as I think I did graduate. I don't know what they call it, graduated or whatever. and as soon as they said, okay, you graduated, what do they call that when you get through basic training? What do they call that?
Graduate.
I think there's a term for it. Anyway, whatever the term is. Like I'd gotten through basic training, I guess. And they said, oh, you did good, you know, like everything you did except for you never polished your boots or something. I'm like, oh, yeah. Yeah, good. So what do you want to be? And they're like, you could be a diver because you were like one of the smartest and fastest and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, no, I don't want anything to do with this. I'm out of here. And they were shocked because, you know, I was one of the best guys apparently. And I was like, no, this is fucking horrible. Oh, can I swear on your show? I don't know if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I encourage it, actually. So, yeah. Josh, you almost joined the military too, huh?
No, I never almost joined it. No, hell no.
Okay.
I am not a fighter. It wasn't ever going to happen. But before I continue with my familial story, I just want to mention that Luis contacted me and said, yeah, he'll be joining Anarchopulco for next year. and he loves you, Jeff. So, yeah, I just want to, yeah. About 3 or 4 years ago, I left a job that was a defense contractor. I'm a software engineer, and they created software for boats and planes, communication of Link 16 and Link 11. It's just really technical internet, scrambled messages, basically. So that's all I did. But after a while, I started realizing how basically fucked up it really was, because it's just violence, and I mean anything in government is violence, obviously, but it was so, like, it started eating at me, even though I was just in a cushy job, in a cube, writing software. But when you start thinking about it, it's really all we're doing right now, at least, is attacking. As the United States, they're attacking countries, and it's basically tyranny. I hate saying we are attacking. I'm not doing a damn thing.
Right.
I'm an anarchist. Fuck that. But yeah, I could never join the military. Hell no. That's not in my blood at all.
There's one time it's like Canada, right? Like almost northern Canada, really, and we went out to a lake because there's no oceans nearby, and I was in the Navy, so we had to go near some water somewhere, I guess. And it was in Fahrenheit terms. I don't know if Fahrenheit 100%, but I think I got this close. During the day, one day it was around 85 or 90, and that night it got down to pretty close to 35 or 40, and the first half of the group got like heat stroke when we're doing our 10-mile march and like all these packs and all this heat. And the guys who made it through that, the rest all got pneumonia, or some of them actually went crazy. I forget what the term is, but like when you get super cold or super, I'm not even sure, but one guy was seeing things. He was just losing his mind. He was screwed up. And I was like one of the only guys who just survived it all somehow. And so yeah, that was another interesting waste of time. And
yeah, in the Navy in a landlocked area, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh man, it's so ridiculous. It's called HMCS Nonsuch. I guess it's HM is like Her Majesty's, I don't know, that cunt. Her Majesty, that cunt. Or something. And they actually, you go to it was just like a warehouse. That was our base, I guess they call it. And they just have like pictures of boats on the wall. And it's like, hey, maybe one day you'll be on one of those. It's like, well, no thanks.
Now, how free is Canada compared to America as far as, I don't know, economic freedom, social freedom, etc.?
I think the better question is how unfree is Canada compared to the U.S. They're both very... Canada used to be okay. I didn't mind it, even though I didn't know I was an anarchist at the time. I've always been like this. And I just knew that when I was younger, I could see the U.S., I could see what was going on there. And I didn't like it as much as Canada because it seemed like they were really pro-war all the time. It's like, yeah, hoorah, let's go get them. And I didn't like that at all. I was like, well, who are they? First of all, no one really, but we want some oil or something. We just want to make some money. It's like, I'm not really interested in that. And Canadians were very kind of, back then, they were very unpatriotic in general, although they always would brag and they'd always hold their chest up high when they say, Canada has free health care, and that always bothered me. But in general, they weren't like passionate and patriotic, and like you'd go to a hockey game, which is normal, and they'd have the national anthem. Half the people wouldn't even stand up. They'd just be drinking beer and waiting for the hockey game to start. Now, ever since about 9/11, the Canadians have almost become more patriotic than the Americans. You can't even hear the singer at the hockey game singing the national anthem because everyone's yelling it at the top of their lungs. They're excited that they went and saved Afghanistan, which they didn't. Some people went and killed a lot of people, but didn't help anything. They're happy to be involved in Syria. Yeah, we have to help, like stop this problem of the CIA created ISIS, which is basically run by Dick Cheney and funded by him, and we have to help, because we're Canadians, we're good people, and we are Canadians, we're very proud of that. And I'm glad I got out of there around the time when it really started to get more patriotic, because I would not be standing at the national anthem at a hockey game, and I'd probably get beat up now. That's how much it's changed. So when if I do, I don't really go to these things much anymore, but if I do, I try to show up after the national anthem, because I don't want to get into a fight over nothing, over brainwashing, and I'm not going to stand for it. There's no way I can. There's just no way. I watch hockey on TV. I'm Canadian. I'm from Canada. I like hockey. It's very great. You guys are from up north too, a little bit. You probably like hockey, or maybe you don't. But when I watch it on TV, when the national anthem comes on, I just mute it or change the channel. I can't even look at it. It makes me sick.
Yeah, I really hate that song too.
Well, the Canada one's bad too. The U.S. ones is really bad. It's just talking about, we're bombing things, and look at all the bombs and how beautiful they are. I was like, what? The Canadian ones were like, oh, it's the land of the free. What do they call it? I forget the words to it. It's really stupid.
The land of the free and the home of the brave. Pay
50% taxes, and you can live in the land of the free. And in general, Canadians seem to be a little bit more polite in general. I hate generalizing because obviously not everyone is, and in general, I've just sort of noticed this. It seems like Canadians are a bit smarter about some things. Like, they haven't been so brainwashed. They actually know something about like world news and stuff, even though the news is mostly wrong. But you ask an American, and they can't even point on a map where any country is other than the U.S., Iraq, Afghanistan. And I think that's basically it. Like, that's
China, our owners.
And so some people like Canada. It's not like I hate Canada. I don't hate the place. I don't hate all the people there. I don't like the government at all, and I don't like any government. But in general, it's gotten worse and worse up there. I think people are going to really see more and more of that. I can see the progression, what's going on. I think they're trying to put in this North American Union more and more. I can even see that here in Mexico. Mexico I love because it's like, you ask your average Mexican, like, hey, are you really patriotic? They're like, well, I'm a Mexican, yeah, but that has nothing to do with the government or anything. It just has to do with, dancing to music and eating tacos and drinking beer. But they're not like nationalistic that way. Not in that way. They have a certain, some people here are that way, but they're not like, we're going to go attack this country, or we're going to, all that kind of war sort of related sort of stuff. And no one really likes government. If you ask almost any Mexican I've ever asked, like, what do you think about government? They're like, I hate them, right? Yes, that in Canada, the U.S., you're going to get a lot of different responses, and not all of them, or not many even, are going to be, I hate the government. So well, it could be better. I think we could change it, in 2 years. I think it's, we'll have I can't even say this.
It's not the worst.
Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama will be the vice president, and I think that'll fix things. And because then, when people have a problem with government, they'll all be sexist. Whereas right now, they're all racist because if they don't like something the government does, and we'll change it. And but here, there's very little talk like that. Like, people really don't even talk about the government. They just wish it went away. It's almost like a nuisance. And the government here also doesn't really get super involved in day-to-day lives of people. Like, there's really not much cops here. If there is cops, they rarely bother people. And in fact, if they do bother people, sometimes the cops will get killed because people are like, get out of here. Like, they don't like them. They just get away from us. And then people in the U.S. look at that, and they'll go, oh man, there's like 3 cops were killed today in Mexico. It must be anarchy down there. It's like, well, it's getting close, like it's closer to anarchy here, but that's not what anarchy is. But the people look at it negatively in the U.S. Or if I think a mayor got killed here a few months ago, and it was in the news in the U.S. and people are like, oh man, sounds like a very dangerous place. It's like, no, they just don't like governments, and so it's different mentality. I love Mexico a million times. Not the government, just the place in general, the style, the culture, more than the U.S. and Canada by further than I can even express, because it's just so much less government involved in your life here, and a lot more private enterprise without much regulation, and so I much prefer that, of course.
I mean, beer and tacos are 2 of my absolute favorite things.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. I don't know many people don't like it.
Yeah.
Especially if you had real good tacos in Mexico, they're amazing. When I first came here, I ate tacos for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day for about 2 months straight. It's so good. I just give me more of those things. I don't eat them as much now. I'm kind of more used to it, but yeah, it's just I just prefer it down here.
Is that culture against government more pervasive in Acapulco, or is it just basically all of Mexico?
Yeah, the one thing that people don't seem to realize is Mexico is a huge country. It's very large, and so it's just like anywhere, like the U.S. People in Boston are very different from people in California, are very different from people in Florida. It's very similar in Mexico. Down here in Acapulco, it's sort of like the Southwest, and I really call it the deep south of Mexico, and they have this almost like a tradition, a history of hating government, and so even the president, or the president, they call him president here, prime murderer or something, of Mexico, even up until a few years ago, he wouldn't even come here because he'd be too scared for his life because they don't want to see him here. Like, just don't get out of here is basically their perspective. And so, yeah, down here is probably why I like it so much. I've been all over Mexico, and I just found like there's this real culture of individuality, of freedom, of being very strong. It sort of goes back to the Aztec days, and they just don't like government much. I don't know anyone at all that likes government. They might vote because just like in the U.S. or Canada, they're like, well, this guy's really bad, that guy's worse, so pick the better one, and then maybe it'll be a little better. I don't even know how many people vote in Mexico. I'd be surprised if it's very many, especially here in Acapulco. I doubt there's the only people who probably would vote are probably more like the communist style. There is some commies in Mexico, and they're trying to take over the government right now. If they do that and it actually turns into a communist government, I'll be out of here the next day. I don't think they're going to, though. So yeah, it's different places, different perspectives, different things and issues, but it's just so much less government involvement in your life here. Like, you just rarely even see anything to do with government, and I love that. Like, no cops really. Like, they fired most of the cops in Acapulco in the summer, and everyone's like, awesome, great. And it's been so much better. It's like the traffic's much better because they're not pulling people over for stupid little things, and so yeah, it's just a different place. But that's the main reason I like it so much. And plus, of course, then you have the weather, which is awesome, which is one of the best climates in the world. If you like warm weather, every day is sunny and 85 degrees every single day of the year, and cheaper.
Yeah,
it's also cheaper.
I notice you've got like a sunburn, except for around your eyes right now.
Yeah, and I don't even try to. I don't suntan or anything. It's just like my house is pretty much half outdoors because it's always warm. Like right now, it's probably 70, 75 degrees, and so you're just in shorts all day. And the house is sort of like a lot of it's just sort of outdoors. It just has like a roof, so the sun doesn't shine on you and stuff. So I'll be in the sun even if I don't leave my house and don't even try to get in the sun. I'll be in it quite a bit. And for people who don't know, vitamin D is one of the most important things to your health. And many people, especially up there in places like New England, where you get cold winters and stuff like that, you're probably very low in vitamin D, and it is the most important, in my opinion. I'm no doctor, but most doctors are idiots who are, not all, but a lot, people are surprised at how important vitamin D is to your mood, to your health, and so if you're even up there in New England area or whatever, if I lived there, and I wouldn't, but if I did, I would go to a tanning salon probably once or twice a month just to get some vitamin D flowing.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, actually, there is not much sun going on up here.
Yeah, my girlfriend is black, and she's starting to have to take vitamin D supplements. I'm not highly suggestive of it, but it's what she's got right now. So. Yeah,
I think if you can't get to a tanning salon, try the supplements and see if they work for you. I've never tried them. I always prefer to do things naturally, and of course a tanning salon isn't totally natural, but it gives you the effect that you need to get the vitamin D. But here in Acapulco, of course, I just walk outside for a few minutes and get. I can't believe how healthy I've been, because I've been really stressed out the last year or two. I've had number of business deals go sideways. I've been robbed, not robbed, but defrauded numerous times. A lot of people were starting to question my reputation and stuff because of some things that I had nothing to do with. And so for the last year, I've really been drinking a lot. I'm smoking like crazy, and I don't really eat much, and I'm never sick. I don't understand how it's working, but I vitamin D because sometimes I'll go up to Canada, the U.S. in the winter, and I'll do the exact same things. I'll be drinking and smoking and not eating much, and I'll be sick in 2 days. So I think the vitamin D is very important.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know, it's funny because the government and the media have been really trying to keep people out of the sun for decades now, right? And I think it's one of the most important things to your health is to get some sun every day if you can. And they go through these things like, oh no, there's an ozone problem, you're going to get skin cancer. And then they say, oh, put all these chemicals all over your skin. That'll keep you safe from the sun. Pretty much everything the government and the media tells you is the opposite of what you should do, really. Definitely get some sun if you can.
Right.
Yeah, my first one of my first principles is to not trust the state narrative on any account, no matter what it is.
Yeah, that's a good sort of principle to live by. You can't go too wrong doing that.
I was gonna try to do a George Carlin quote there, but I'm just gonna screw it up. So I'm not gonna.
I butcher quotes too, so I won't try either.
Yeah.
But, maybe someone's got Google there, but I know the quote you're talking about.
Now, what's the region like the geography down there? Like, are there mountains? Is it all islands, or you know?
Here in Acapulco, it's like I've been to about 100 countries, and I consider this to be number 1 or number 2 most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. The one that kind of competes with it is Rio in Brazil for natural beauty. It just everything's all colors all the time. It's just green and reds and yellows and you know, the plants, the flowers, the birds, and it's this whole bay is surrounded by mountains, and so that's beautiful on its own. It's a huge bay, and it almost goes all the way around. It's almost like a complete circle, so it's beautiful in that way as well. Then you just got the blue water, you got the blue sky, and all these colors every day, and so I consider it almost to be a magical sort of place because it never rains either. That's the funny thing. So it's always lush and green, and just mangoes are just falling off trees everywhere because there's so much. Everything grows so easily here. And it never rains. So I think there's a huge aquifer underneath Acapulco or something that just keeps everything super green. So it's really if you ever get the chance to go, I would highly recommend it. It's one of the most interesting and beautiful places that I've ever been.
Now, earlier on you mentioned that there are already about 60 people down there for Anarchopulco. Are you, I mean, I don't know if this is too forward, but do you think it's going to happen next year too?
Yeah, I think almost for sure if I'm still alive at that time. I have a lot of very negative feelings about the next year coming up. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to bring everyone down too much, but I see major collapses happening. I see wars increasing, Russia especially, who's being surrounded by the U.S. right now, and they're getting pretty close to doing something very serious there. So I'm not planning too much a year ahead from now, but it's already been a huge success, this conference. The hotel we booked and the room in the hotel can only hold about 300 people. And I thought there'd be no way that we'd get 300 people here. And it's basically sold out. We actually might be overselling a bit right now. So if you do register today or tomorrow, and if there is no seats, please, stand. Just be aware that we might be a little bit over capacity at this moment in time. But I think we're going to fit most people in, and it won't be every speech will be full anyway. And I just don't want to say no to people because people are writing me. They're like, oh my God, I'm looking forward to this so much. It's going to be the biggest thing I do all year, and I just don't want to say, oh no, sorry, it's sold out. So we're just trying to get as many people in as we can and see if we can make it work, which I'm sure we can. Everyone coming, not everyone, but most people coming down are really cool people. They're laid back. They're anarchists. They're not uptight about every single rule and regulation and all that kind of stuff. If something's not quite perfect, I think most of them will be fine. So yeah, to answer your question, if I'm alive, if the world still generally works or exists next year, we'll definitely do it again, and I think it's going to be huge. I think we'll talk about thousands of people next year, but from what I hear from everyone I talk to.
Yeah.
If you get more people than capacity, then just have them sleep on the beach. I mean, why not, right?
It's not about the hotel rooms. I think there's still rooms available, but it's the conference room can only hold about 300 people, and I think we're at right around that number right now. So it's my conference. I'm stressing out a bit. I want it to go perfect. So that's one of my concerns. Is like, I hope we have enough seats for everybody in the room. But I think it'll all work out fine. I think.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. If it happens, I think we're all going to die is really what I think. Josh is a little more optimistic than I am, but at this point I really think we're all going to die. So right, if we're still kicking around, then I'm going to try pretty hard to get down if it does happen next year. But I don't have high hopes. I can't say that I do.
Yeah, there's so many black swans right now in the sky that it's almost dark. There's so many things can go wrong right now. There's so many problems, all caused by government and central banks. We're going to see the Japanese yen collapse any day now. Not any day, but probably this year. The euro is very close right now with what's going on in Greece again. The U.S. dollar is going to collapse, of course, but that would probably be the last one to collapse, in my opinion, except for maybe the Chinese yuan and the Russian ruble, which if they back it with gold, it might survive. And that's sort of what they're planning. You can see that they're planning that. So then there's all these wars that they keep starting. They're really trying to get something going on over there. You can see it with this ISIS thing in Syria, Libya, and of course General Wesley Clark said right after 9/11, which was done by the same old cast of characters, Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld and all these guys. They had a list of 7 countries they wanted to attack in the next 5 years, and Wesley Clark's talked about this. He even talked about this recently. He said, yeah, of course, so they had a list. They haven't done it as fast as they thought they would, which is actually good. So it kind of shows that, because it's taken them now, 14 years now, and they've only attacked about 4 or 5 of the 7, and the last few on the list are Iran is the big one, and they've got them surrounded right now, and something's going to happen, something crazy. Russia, they're starting to move in on Russia now, with what's going on in the Ukraine, where the U.S. government overthrew the government in a coup, tried to install a U.S.-based government right in the doorstep of Russia, in a place that's always been associated in one way or another close to Russia, is their neighbor essentially, and the U.S. is just moving in there, just bringing in all these weapons, and something's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to be good, and so I don't plan very much in the future right now.
No, it's not going to be good, and let's say it's the dollar collapse. I'm fairly certain that the government will legitimately kill everyone rather than let the dollar go down. And that's just not something that I want to be a part of. I don't blame you for going to Mexico, dude. I don't. I've been to war before. I don't want to fight. I don't want to bleed, and just it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be nasty, and they have much, much bigger guns.
With all the stuff they have now, and you can just see them cracking down every day on they're collecting all your data. They know where you live. They're tracking every single thing you do through every single electronic device you have. There's going to be some. If they succeed, it's going to be crazy, and it's going to be bad one way or another. There's really no good way out of what all this statism and central banking has caused over the last 100 years. It's either going to be really bad or horrible for a period of time.
Yeah.
And not necessarily everywhere in the world, but most places, in my opinion.
If it does get good, there's going to be a bloodbath before that happens, I think.
Yeah, there's no way to know how this is going to play out. We've never had empires this big before, like the U.S. empire. That's an military bases in pretty much every country in the world, tracking every single person in the world. And it's going to collapse, actually. That's the good news. There's no way this empire lasts too much longer. That's really good news. But how it collapses, it's going to be really a rough transition period for a lot of people. It's either going to be, like you pointed out, a total bloodbath, FEMA camp style stuff, or it's going to be dollar collapse, which gets rid of the U.S. government pretty quickly, but they'll try to keep control by trying to force people to do things. There's enough Americans with guns and hopefully some brains left that they don't allow them to do that, and they fight back if they have to. I'm not for violence ever, even in the case of government. I don't want to violently get rid of government. I want to peacefully get rid of government. But if they did attack me to the point where I was life and death, in a situation, I would definitely fight back, of course, but I don't. I always try to lead that as the very, very last option.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. If I can not be a part of it, I'd rather not. I'd rather sit it out.
Yeah.
I'll defend my. Yeah, seriously. You guys go do your thing. Let me know how it works out, and have a good one.
Honestly, I think that's why I have gold and silver, because it's the peaceful way out of a dollar system or any fiat system. You know, it's the way to trade without the government. You know, in my opinion. Of course. I mean, there's also Bitcoin and other altcoins, but you know, that's. I mean, I'm not totally there, but you know, eventually, Michael and I, we gotta trade in Bitcoin, man.
Well, that's the funny thing, right, with Bitcoin that we always talk about is all of us guys who love Bitcoin because we see what it is. It's a completely free private money that can't be controlled by governments. The problem with us is that we don't like to spend our Bitcoins because we just want more and more of them because we see them as being very valuable and going to be much more valuable in the future. So that's been an issue. But I think there's so much of a Bitcoin ecosystem now. We're going to have so many of those guys here at our event. Roger Ver, the Bitcoin Jesus, Cody Wilson, 3D printed guns and dark wallets, and trying to shut down Bitcoin Foundation right now, which is awesome. So many great people in the Bitcoin space, and the ecosystem, the economy of the Bitcoin is growing so much that I think it's going to grow, and I think it's going to do very well. I don't know how how it's going to get there, but I think it's going to do quite well, and it's going to be so important because we're going to have a lot of these currencies collapsing. Just imagine if this Greece thing really blows up, and it totally has the potential to.
Oh yeah.
And the euro essentially collapses. How many people in Europe might be starting to get interested in Bitcoin at that moment in time? Like it was Cyprus that really set Bitcoin off from $35 to about $150. What was that, 2 years ago now? And that was just Cyprus. That was like a little tiny island that really didn't matter. It wasn't a big global issue. And their banks shut down and took most of the people's money, the government. And that spiked Bitcoin like 500% higher. So you can imagine if Japan does, or Euro, you can't even imagine the numbers. It's going to be tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars of Bitcoin. And I'm not predicting that, by the way. I don't know if it's going to get there, but it has the potential to. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. While we're on the subject, I'm just going to go over the prices as of tonight. Yeah. Last time we did this show, we skipped last show because we had technical difficulties, but so the last show we aired was February 9th at 5:55. I took those prices, and tonight is February 23rd at 8:38. Silver was $16.99. Tonight it's $16.36, so that's down 63 cents. That's 3.7%. Gold went from $12.38.40 to $12.03.97. That's a $34.43 drop. That's 2.8%. And Bitcoin went from $220.95 to $238.59. That's $17.64. That's 8%, if the calculation is right. That sounds wrong, but anyway.
Yeah, Bitcoin's doing quite well, in my opinion, for everything that it's been going through and all the problems. And that spike really was an unnatural spike that went over 1,000, in my opinion. In retrospect, you couldn't recognize it at the time because you didn't really know what was going on. It's like, why is it going up over $1,000 now? Is something going on? And in my opinion, it was the two things. It was Cyprus, and then the Chinese just got into Bitcoin like crazy around that time. And Chinese people in general are traders, they're speculators, and they went just nuts on it. And I think that's what really spiked it. I feel really comfortable with Bitcoin around these levels. I feel like it's a really solid level for Bitcoin. I went under 200 there for a little bit, and I thought, I was telling people, just privately, I would be buying here for sure. I can't see it going under 100. I just can't see it. It's possible. It's totally possible, but it's been really hanging in around this number for quite a while now, and as we were just pointing out, there's nothing but growth for Bitcoin in the future, and as people start to use it more, the value of it will go up. So I'm very comfortable. I also silver at this price I think is incredibly cheap. I think it's an opportunity. If you don't have any yet, now is pretty much the time. I was surprised it went under 20.
Yeah,
And gold also is gold's really been hanging in very strong now for over a year at around these levels. So it could be time for it to take off again too. So, and I don't see it going down. I can't see it going below 1,000. It's possible. I can't see it.
Yeah, right. I've been into silver and gold for about 5 years now, like on and off, and it really surprised me. Well, I bought silver. I bought 3 10-ounce bars about 4 years ago, or maybe 2009, I think. And then I sold them when it was going up quickly, and I sold them around $40. So I doubled my money doing that. I mean, it's only 3 bars, but that's pretty awesome. And it got me into this whole silver and gold thing. And yeah, you're right. All 3 of them have potential to just go through the roof, but essentially because fiat currency is crap. So anybody who doesn't have these currencies right now will get into it. Therefore, the demand will rise and the prices, in theory, will go up compared to the fiat currencies.
Yeah, I think the amount of Americans who own gold or silver is something like almost nothing.
Yeah, like 5%, right?
Or less, even, I think. And once the dollar starts to collapse, there's so many things that could just set these things off to the moon, really. And it's not like, I don't think you're going to be like wealthy, like a billionaire, just because you bought some gold or silver right now. I don't think it's going to go up tens of thousands of percent. Bitcoin could, though. But I think what's going to happen over the next couple of years, the people who lose the least are going to win. So if you get through what's going to happen, and it's going to happen, I can guarantee you it's going to happen, that if you can survive with something, with some gold or some silver or some assets, you will be in a position where you can, for example, during Weimar Republic in Germany, I don't know if this is an old wives' tale or not, but it wouldn't surprise me. So they had their hyperinflation, and apparently at the end of the hyperinflation, one guy bought a hotel, I think it was Hyatt or Hilton or one of those guys, for 1 gold coin. Because that guy needed the money. So I think it's not going to be so much about making tons of money as everyone's going to lose so much that you'll look rich.
Right. Yeah. So I think we lost Michael. Yeah. Any final thoughts, Jeff? Do you want to plug yourself in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, sure. I'll plug myself. Why not? I'm mostly just stressed out right now. I got this big conference starting tomorrow, Anarchopulco. If you want to come down last minute, if you don't mind standing for some of the speeches, you're very welcome to come. It's starting actually on Friday. So if you're up there in the snow and cold, check it out, anarchopulco.com. If you don't know much about Anarchy, or if you want to know more about it, I have probably the top anarcho-capitalist podcast interview show in the world called Anarchast. We're almost at our 200th episode. We're just surpassing 1 million views right now, which isn't a ton, but it's growing a lot. It's really good. Anarchast, just find it on YouTube. And then I write the Dollar Vigilante, which I've been doing for quite a while now, talking about the coming fiat currency collapses and how to protect yourself, and that's just dollarvigilante.com.
Right on. Yeah, thank you very much, Jeff. And I know Luis was trying to get in touch with you, but yeah, you just went through me. And yeah, so the next show, I may not be present for the next show, and that will be March 1st, I believe. So yeah, check that out. That will be the roundtable discussion. We're going to have Marky Ballantyne back for the first time in like 5 months, 6 months. The usual suspects, so check that out with Michael. I may be there, I might not be. Again, Jeff, please, thank you very much for coming on, and yeah, it was a pleasure, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Keep up the great work. I enjoy your show.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Take care.
All right.